All right, welcome to From the Cheap Seats. And today, for the first time in almost a decade, we have a finals game seven. And I will give my prediction flat out. I think the Thunder are going to win this thing 103 to 98. I think SGA is going to win finals MVP. I think he's going to have like something around 23, 25 points this game because I think this is going to be an absolute defensive hammering by both sides. What do you got here, Charles?
Yeah, this is going to be a really exciting game. First one in 9 years, I think, since 2016 LeBron, and so I'm super excited. This is the first Game Seven Finals I've ever seen in person, or not in person, but live.
Same here. This is the first one I've been sentient for.
Yeah, and so I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a lot of defense played. I could see it going either way. Like genuinely, I think it's whose bench plays better. Um, to be honest, whether it's Caruso or McConnell, honestly, whoever but we'll see. Whoever makes more wide open shots, we'll see. But I'm super excited and pumped for this game.
So we're both really excited, obviously. But if that's the case, where would we put this among all-time final series, man? Like you and I have been around for series and I know people overlook this series a lot. The Bucks and Suns, I thought that was pretty dang good, and so is the Warriors and Celtics. And we're in an era now where you're not going to have the same two teams, Warriors and Cavs, going back to back years on championships. So where would you put this series among the all time greats? Like what's it obviously in front of? And what do you say it's 100% behind?
Yeah, I think it's over the Bucks and Suns for sure. I know that was. I mean, I really enjoyed that series. Giannis coming in for that late block and that lob in Game Six from Drew. That was peak basketball. But I mean, I feel like the Pacers and Thunder have just performed and given us more of a show. But it's. I mean, I'm. There's no words to describe it. But I certainly think, obviously, 2016. Honestly, I think all. Yeah, let's just go with 2016 is definitely, I think, in my opinion, the best finals ever.
Tend to
LeBron,
agree.
LeBron coming back 3-1. But you know, I think in terms of like what this means for a franchise, I think 2019 Raptors probably means a little bit more. That was their first one. I think, however, if the
It's epic, man.
I think if the Thunder were to win, though, it's their first one, and they're 20 some odd years that they've been around. I think that means a lot. It's just they've kind of gotten a lot of hate, as of recent for being the number one seed and having a controversial MVP on their team, along with the refs kind of playing a little bit into their gameplay. I
Well,
mean, I
playing
think
playing off
go
that, like now that you say that, it makes me think both these teams do have a lot of controversy surrounding them. Because
on.
on one hand, you got the Thunder and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who people claim to have the refs on their side all the time, and despite his extreme offensive prowess, they still think SGA isn't living up. Then you got the player who's voted most overrated player in the NBA by his peers, and he's made so many clutch shots, like which hurts more, by the way. And he's made so many clutch shots that it's like, should they be here? But now they've kind of proven their mettle. They deserve to be in this finals. And
Yeah.
the Thunder, they were able to get through the three-time MVP and the supposed next face of the NBA. That to me is like, wow, both these teams, they both got chip on their shoulder because you said it's the first. This will be the Thunder's first title in OKC. This
hmm
would be the first Pacers title ever. Both every you could make an argument that somebody should hate this team. They should hate the Pacers for their trash talking. They should hate the Thunder for their fouling. It's just wow. I didn't think about it like that. Now that you say that,
No, yeah. I mean, there's just so much controversy. And I think, obviously one team is going to prove everyone wrong, obviously. But for the other team, the team that loses, I don't think it's a bad. I mean, I think, the losing team exceeded all expectations, whether it was the Pacers and Halliburton proving everyone that he is that, all-star caliber player that he is. I don't think he's a superstar, but that's a, story for another day. But and then you go for on the Thunder side, I mean, they were expected to be here. They were, the deepest team in the league, the best team in the league. I don't think it was really even close. I think, I don't really see a problem if they lose. Obviously, you want to win, but I feel like both teams, whether they win or lose, I feel like as a whole, you should be happy about this season.
yeah, you know what? If I see SGA walking down the tunnel with a sad face, if I see Tyrese Halliburton walking down the tunnel with a sad face, I'm going to applaud because both these teams, they've done an extraordinary job getting to this position. And they've just given us, this is just a great time. It's a great show to have. And if that's the case, like, I would say, I would honestly put this series, depending on what happens tonight, if tonight's a blowout, I'm not going to. I could make an argument that this series is better than the Spurs Heat series. Whoa. Ray Allen shot. Whoa, craziness. But both those teams, they had like, you had the player that was almost voted unanimous MVP, and then you had the all around good defensive / offensive team with a young developing Kawhi Leonard. And this team, it's like, with these two teams, it feels like two underdogs to me. It feels like two overlooked, criticized teams.
Yeah, I mean, just going from the overall average age from the Thunder, they just feel like underdogs. You know, no, you don't really have a veteran presence really at all on that team, and yet they're still acting as if they'd all been there before. And I think that comes with just the belief that comes from out of OKC. You know, Shea is a very confident man, and you know he walks with a purpose. And I think that, you know, the way he leads his team, you know, he causes everyone to believe that, you know, hey, no one's been here before, but we own this, and we have more than a good enough shot to win this. And so I think he's, you know, done a really good job as a leader, bringing that veteran presence, even though he's not a veteran.
That's right. And the Pacers, unlike the Thunder, they do have a veteran. They have a guy who's won a championship, Pascal Siakam. And speaking of him, I spoke about this series. I spoke like that there were going to be a lot of adjustments. What do you think this game would be a key, crucial, like, if you've been paying attention to the X's and O's, would be a key adjustment, like something that you think the Thunder for sure have to look out for this time over the Pacers?
Yeah. You gotta limit your turnovers. I said that last time, but you gotta limit your turnovers again. And you gotta keep an eye on TJ McConnell. I mean, what are we doing? Like, you can't let, you know, a under 6'3" dude go and drive to the lane. Like, he doesn't want to shoot a three. We all know this. He can make him, but he doesn't want to shoot him. And so you're letting him drive and pull an alligator roll right into a mid-range fadeaway that he knocked down numerous times last game. And then he's also just getting to the rim. I mean, whatever matchup was on him last time, I mean, I feel like you either got to lock in or get somebody else on him, because I feel like TJ McConnell was the X factor in this past game. And I feel like the Pacers are going to, you know, try and utilize him again this game. And so, you know, the Thunder got to be ready and make a defensive adjustment on that.
I would think the X factor for tonight, and this is on the Thunder side, I would think it's Lou Dort and Cason Wallace. Like, those two players, the two players who kind of have dreads, like I sometimes mistake them for one another when I don't look at their numbers. But I just think these two, like, you look at Jalen Williams, you look at Chet Holmgren, you look at SGA, but you don't look at the guys in the background. You always complimented Caruso, who I think would be there's a difference to me between best player and most valuable player on an NBA team. And I would argue he's the second most valuable player on the Thunder, because a lot of what they were able to do defensively this season was because of him. So I'd say the biggest adjustments and biggest X factors to watch out for tonight are Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, and Alex Caruso.
Yeah. I agree. I think they got to hit their shots. I mean, Lou Dort is always going to get his plethora of wide open shots just from the ability that Shea and, you know, J-Dub are able to create open shots for everyone else. And Lou Dort is going to sit in that corner and find his easy 5 good looks a game. And so he's got to take advantage of those. And, he didn't take advantage of those last game, or I don't really remember the last couple games if he has or not, but he's got to step up for sure. Cason Wallace is another one, as you mentioned. He's got to step up and hit those shots, because you're going to get those looks, but if you're not going to knock down your easy ones, then you gotta go to someone else. And that's what, OKC's done. I also feel like, Chet Holmgren has got to step up as well. He's their defensive anchor. You mentioned Caruso, and he's their MVP on the defensive side, and it runs through Caruso, but everyone's pushing their guys towards Chet, towards that paint to get, make that, paint claustrophobic. But if he's not going to play his job, then, Tyrese and Siakam especially are going to get to the bucket and get those, and ones or, easy lays. And so that's what I feel like, as from the Thunder side, it's Chet and really just Lou Dort, but also Cason Wallace as well.
I never said this, and I should apologize for this. I've had there have been before a lot of times before I even started the podcast where I've criticized Chet Holmgren, where I thought he's going to be a bust, and he thought he looked. I don't know why. It felt like he was being set up to be a personality issue coming out of that draft for all the hype he had. But he really didn't. He's exceeded my expectations in a lot of ways. He was a defensive player of the year candidate early on the season until Wemby started to take over. But then it's kind of funny. Both of them had injuries at the exact opposite times. And people have tried to start a rivalry between him and Wemby. But Chet Holmgren's just there. He's just the defensive guy in the background making silent offensive buckets. And I feel like he is such, because of Jalen Williams at SGA, if he was on any other team, he would probably be their best player. That's how stacked this Thunder team is. Anyway, moving on to our next segment. Let's hear from the Charles crossover, something we haven't heard about for 2 months now, I think.
A little bit. Well, starting off with my crossover, I guess. Well, game sevens in the finals tend to be tightly contested. In fact, the last 8 game sevens were decided by single digits. Also, 10 of the last 19 games were also decided by 5 points or less. Yeah, 10 of the 19 previous game sevens in the finals were decided by 5 points or less. And so the average margin of victory is 6.9 points.
All right. Give us the prediction, man. Come on.
Yeah,
We're waiting for it.
Listen, here it comes. But I have the game within 5 today. The statistics are there. The odds are out there. It's looking within 5. Me personally, I would love to see a last-second shot to win or miss.
Do you think this is going to be like that Warriors-Cavaliers game?
Listen, I don't know if we're going to have a chase down block or a Kyrie fadeaway, but you better know that some crazy crap is going to go down today, and I'm super excited, and I can kind of feel it.
I get the feeling we're going to get some sort of dagger, like whether it be a 3 or a 2-pointer by a good player on the Thunder team.
Yeah,
I'm going to think it's going to be SGA.
If Mike brain is on, you best know a bang's coming out.
And if it doesn't, we need to do like we did in game 1 with Tyrese's game winner and go get on his butt. All right. So that's my prediction. I have 103-98. Thunder win the finals MVP. Charles has it being within 3-ish points. I would say, based on what you say, it would probably be within the 90s, mid 90s, whatever.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Mm-hmm. I gotta ask, what do you think could be, besides a possible dagger, a defining play by a player? Because I don't think, despite what people think, I don't think Tyrese is going to have as big as a game as he did the other game. And the other game, he didn't really do too good.
I agree. I feel like OKC is going to try and minimize Halliburton as well as they can. But I'm looking at, if it's the Pacers with a last-second shot, I'm looking at a Pascal Siakam post up, and if he gets doubled, it's a kick out to Nembhard or Nesmith, and that's their shot. If he doesn't get doubled, it's, I'm looking at, a potential mid-range, fall away or, set shot. But if he's on the OKC, I mean, there's no question you're going to Shea. It's an ISO. If they send a double, get it to J-Dub, let him go to work.
So, I'm trying to think of a way to word this. Actually, I forgot completely what I was going to say. Kind of mad about it now. Oh, do you think this is one of the most 50-50 final series we've ever seen? Because we've got young, stud talented team on defense with a young head coach who coached Caruso in the G League, and the championship caliber coach with Rick Carlisle, who led that Mavericks team on what I sometimes call the greatest playoff run by a single team ever, and a veteran presence with Pascal Siakam, a top scorer. Do we think this is like the most 50-50 matchup we've ever seen in a while? Or what would we compare this matchup to?
I think it is. I mean, genuinely, it might be the most 50-50. Talent-wise and, depth-wise, I feel like OKC, if you're looking at a box score or, a depth chart, it would be OKC, no question. But looking at the belief and the way that the Pacers have stepped up, and then you look at the history that Rick Carlisle has when the Mavs made that playoff run in 2011, and you just look at all this, that, something that paper just can't put, paper can't show. So you just feel that belief from the Pacers, and it just feels so even. I genuinely think it could go either way. Like, if it's not 50-50, it's 49-51 because it's that close.
Agreed. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard enough from us babble on about how much we love this finals game 7. This is and we say that because this is probably going to be the last one we get in another 4 or 5 years. This does not happen often. So continue on with the cheap seat report. we've recently gotten news that Kevin Durant to the Rockets. I don't get it. To me, I think this was a stupid move by Phoenix to go out and get go out and get rid of Kevin Durant to the Rockets of all teams. I mean, I get you get Jalen Green, but you talked to me about this earlier. Jalen Green, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen. Just a bunch of shooting guards. Like, what do we got going on here in Phoenix?
I don't know what they were thinking. And I sure hope that they have more trades coming up, because when you have, I think I counted out 5, super solid starters, or even, all stars, but they're all at the shooting guard position, or a shooting guard, small forward, whatever you want to call it. How does that play into a team? Because you don't have any size at all. Like, genuinely, you're going to get killed by, the Dallas Mavs, or, the Bucks, or whoever has, or the, Denver, just because you can't guard, down in the paint. And so it just doesn't make sense from a, box score or on paper. But so there's got to be some more moves that they're planning on. So
New take, and I just now thought of this. What is one team that we've looked at, Charles, like that we're looking at right now, and we're saying they've got roster problems? Like, how are they going to pay this much players? How this many star players?
Celtics.
So let's say they go out and get Drew Holiday. That fixes your defensive issue and opens up your overall. Like, it would just make the flow of your offense a lot better. Yeah,
I like that. And they got the pieces to give too. I mean,
100%.
what, you give up Bradley Beal and I don't know, Dylan Brooks.
Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen and Bradley Beal. And then you have Drew Holiday, Devin Booker, and Jalen Green as your 3. And then obviously you got to address your size. But I mean, you have a top 10 pick now from the trade. So
you know what, I could see this happening. And if whatever happens in Minnesota, if this doesn't work out, I think they could get Naz Reid as, like, I know he's only 6'9", but it's a big man and combine it with that offense. And we've seen this formula before with the Suns, because Devin Booker, I don't think you want Devin Booker as your primary on-ball defender, but surround him with a good defensive point guard with a veteran presence, Drew Holiday, and a defensive small forward, Dylan Brooks. He's no Mikal Bridges, but he can certainly lock down on defense and annoy the crap. He's the closest player I've seen to Patrick Beverley in a while in terms of mouthing off on defense. But I think this is a winning formula to the Suns. I could see it. If they get Drew Holiday, I would take back what I said about them being an absolute dumpster fire right now of a franchise.
Another thing, I know they just acquired Jalen Green, but what if the Mavs were to go and get Jalen Green, address their guard depth when Kyrie's out, and they give up Gafford and PJ along with, say, I don't know, Dinwiddie?
I don't know why you're going to do Gafford injustice like that, but I think if you're talking Mavericks trades, they've got what they need. They got what they need to develop Cooper Flag. Do you think, though, you're speaking of, like, getting rid of Jalen Green? If they were to get rid of Jalen Green, I would expect Cade Cunningham in return. That would be stupid.
I think Cade Cunningham is on a much different level than Jalen Green. He's a lot higher. I don't know, but
yeah, no,
it could be a first round in Jalen Green for Cade. I could see.
I could too, but we've talked about everything besides Kevin Durant himself up to this point. So what do you think of his fit on this Rockets team? I think it's an odd fit because you got Amen Thompson. Despite what people say, I think Amen was the real superstar, not Jalen Green. And then you got Asian Kevin Durant with his glory days kind of over. Although Sengun is kind of starting to light it up.
Yeah.
And he's definitely improving as a mature player.
Yeah. A surprising thing that when I saw the trade happen, I went and looked at the depth chart of this, the Rockets to see what would be a good pairing. But one thing that stuck out to me was Reed Shepherd. You get rid of 2 guards, allowing Reed Shepherd to get more minutes, allowing him
to he existed.
And so, listen, if Reed Shepherd can, get more minutes, develop, it'll be his, is it second year, I believe? Yeah, second year going into the league. He's already gone through his rookie year, and he can put up 10 points a game, be able to handle the ball under pressure. I think that's all you should ask of him. But that's a super, I don't know, underwhelming person from last year that might be able to take that next step with the lack of, guards that you just gave up with, So, but
Speaking of Reed Shepherd's name brought a few memories back to mind because I lived in Kentucky. I had to deal with all the nonsense of people saying, "Oh, I got a signed T-shirt from Reed Shepherd," and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Mark Sears could kick the crap out of Kentucky if he wanted to." But the thing I had about Reed Shepherd was in that first round of the playoffs in March Madness, he and Kentucky folded, and that kind of I thought he should have stayed another year after that. But he did okay in the NBA this year. But after what I saw, and I know it's only college, I don't think he could be that superstar game-winning point guard. Maybe he could learn a thing or two from Fred VanVleet, who I think on the Rockets, now that I think about it, that's a good point guard presence to have. But I don't see. I'm gonna go against your take. I don't think Reed Shepherd's gonna be as big of an impact player as you think him to be. I could see him maybe making a defensive team, all defensive third team, but I don't really see anything too big.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he's a undersized guard, not great athleticism, but listen, he's a big shot maker, back from college. So hopefully it translates. Maybe it doesn't, but we'll see.
We're talking about basketball a lot today, and apparently there's a new face of basketball conversation floating around with Caitlin Clark. And I look at this, and Colin Cowherd, I typically do not agree with him. I used to, but he's a blabbering Vegas idiot, if you know what I mean. Always looking to make money with his spreads and all that. But looking at the argument, he made the argument that Caitlin Clark is like Michael Jordan because they're going to have to change rules because of her. And I think it's less of Michael Jordan. I could say Michael Jordan in impact, but Steph Curry in playstyle with all the absurd threes she makes. But do you think that once LeBron, Curry, KD are gone, that she'll be the new face of basketball?
She'll never be the face of basketball. She'll be the face of the WNBA for sure. She'll never be the face of basketball just because, the NBA's just light years ahead.
I would like I want you to put what you just said into simpler terms. I'm kidding around.
The NBA is that much better than the WNBA. But listen, I'm a fan. I've been a fan of Caitlin Clark since college days. And so I have a Caitlin Clark shirt at home. Like, I'm not a hater. I'm actually a big fan. But
We need proof. I'm kidding.
I'll send you a text later. But listen, she'll never be the face of basketball. Now listen, and your Michael Jordan, just like overall just impact on a game / her play styles like her. I 100% agree. Caitlin Clark is the best thing for WNBA since sliced bread. Like, it's genuinely,
I think
nothing could be better.
Her story is really good. Going into college, she never won a championship. And like both the teams she went up, she had Angel Reese when they won the championship, the LSU, there in her second year at Iowa State. She had Angel Reese doing the ring sign, saying, "Oh yeah, we're getting the ring on this finger." And looking at it now, them being both rivalries, they're the youngest players in WNBA history to record triple doubles. And they also did, you know how Team USA has a select team, like when they had Cooper Flag go up against NBA players. It's the same thing for the WNBA, and they had her and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and they almost beat Team USA for women's basketball. So
no, she's
that's
that
amazing.
good. And listen, hot take, but give it 5 years, and the WNBA will have doubled in the amount of views per game.
I agree.
Listen,
I 100%
Paige
agree.
Bucker's entering the league. Give it 2 or 3 years. Juju Watkins. Juju's tough. Like, she might be the most tough women's player I've ever seen. And listen,
You're saying that because you don't think Cooper Flag will work out and that Dallas's best player will be Paige Buchers.
no. Cooper Flag's going to work out. I promise you. Listen, but Paige Buckers is good. She's good too. Don't get me wrong. She's good too.
Okay, yeah, whatever, dude. But that's woof. A lot of stuff going on in the WNBA, and I'm glad that during this dead period we're gonna have still WNBA games being played. I think I'm gonna have to probably start watching those. Either that or resort to baseball to get stuff to talk about. But we've got another piece of news and I didn't discuss this last time, even though it had already been done. I want someone fired for that Desmond Bane trade.
No one was getting fired if Nico Harrison didn't get fired. But I agree.
Exactly, because I would not give up 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
That's stupid to me. And like you said, the Luka trade.
Well,
That's what really ticks me off.
Anthony, and what did KCP get traded as well? Is that what I remember? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope?
Well, let's take a look. Let me pull up the trade details.
Pull it up, because I know it was, it might have been, I don't know. Was Anthony? It
Okay.
might have been Anthony Black. I don't
So
know.
the Grizzlies will get Contavious Caldwell Pope, a championship caliber piece. Cole Anthony, the 16th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, a 2026 first round pick, a 2028 first round pick, and a 2030 first round pick, and top two protected 2029 first round pick swap.
That's highway robbery.
But we don't look at it that way, and it's because
Listen.
it's such underwhelming players.
The Magic are trying to win now, and it's a good move. Don't get me wrong for the now, but you're burning your entire future. At least 4 years worth of draft picks. So
I think it's less of win now and more of they want to beat New York because despite Indiana making these finals, I think New York is still, unless they lose their crap this offseason, the best team in the East. Well, you can make an argument that the Cavs are. Really, what am I saying? The East is completely open for any team to take it. But I think the Magic, because they realize they have that superstar. Like, they're not looking around for their guy now. They have the guy with Paolo Banchero, and they've got Franz Wagner. So I think doing this, Contavious Caldwell Pope, notice how after he left the Nuggets, they kind of went to crap and everybody felt that Jokic was one-man armying the thing, which he was, don't get me wrong, but he's still Jamal Murray and all that, and an improving Christian Braun. But KCP is a crucial championship piece. But it doesn't make sense for the Grizzlies on their end because they're getting rid of a lot of their offense for this. So I guess they're planning young. They look at the championship formula they are trying to draft. But me personally, and this is a hot take, I do not like Ja Morant as this franchise cornerstone. I think it's great. He's a great show. He's a great guy to watch. But everything about him screams Derrick Rose to me. And I know that's why he stopped dunking. What happened even when he stopped dunking? He got injured when his team needed him the most.
yeah,
When they needed a 0-2 comeback, because he said himself, and I kind of called bull, but I kind of believe him looking back at the series because of the narrow final two victories of the Thunder. He said he had the Thunder figured out, that the series would have been tied 2-2 with him. And I almost believe it. But considering what he's had to go through, I think Triple J is their guy, Jaren Jackson Jr., Defensive Player of the Year. And he's really improved as an offensive shooter. So I think they need to build around him and not Ja Morant.
Yeah, Ja Morant kind of reminds me of like a LaMelo Ball type player. Puts on a great show, brings in a lot of fans, a lot of highlight plays. But is he a championship caliber player that can push you towards a championship? And I agree with you. I don't think he is.
One-dimensional.
Yeah. Could he be a piece to get to a championship? Yes. But is he the piece you build around? No. So
he's an injury problem.
Yeah.
But
I hope he stays healthy, but yeah.
Yeah, and when he came around when the Grizzlies first made the playoffs and he got most improved and they went against the Warriors and that insane Wolves series. Now that was one of the best playoff matchups in the first round that I've seen. We were talking about him as like we hadn't seen a young player like that pull off those superstar dunks, plays, highlight reels. But looking back on it now, that's the bad thing that he does. He shouldn't be doing that. He should be conserving himself. And even with load management, it's kicked his butt. But moving on from that, because I have plenty of things I could say about Ja Morant as a Spurs fan. I saw video footage, and I'm sure you've seen this because everybody's seen this. Wembanyama with the Shaolin monks in China. What? I know he's a nerd and all that, but that's just confusing. What is this, like training like mind over body stuff? Like he'll make the ball go into the hoop like by just throwing it up. Like I don't know what's going on here. I think something like this is how you definitely get media attention. That's for sure.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know. I don't really know how much it deals with winning in the NBA or improving yourself in the NBA. But listen, let a man do his thing. If he wants to go out to China and go do whatever he's doing with monks, listen, I ain't gonna judge.
Last time somebody said that, Charles, we saw Dennis Rodman wearing skirts around the place.
That might be a little bit more eccentric than, what Wemby's doing. But listen, if he's gonna go put up the numbers he's gonna put up in San Antonio, let him. I don't know.
I'd agree. But speaking of Victor Wembanyama, I've had an argument. Like somebody brought up the point, and I've seen a lot of lists around the place. Who do you think is going to be the best player in the NBA in 10 years?
Let's see.
The debate's really between Anthony Edwards or Victor Wembanyama.
I don't think you can count Luka out just yet, just because Luka will still be at the end of his prime by then. I also think that, I don't know. I like Anthony Edwards and Wemby. I'm going
to give it to Wemby.
I kind of agree with you just from the upside that Wemby still has. I
But
mean,
this plays off the thing of will he or will he not get a big career-ending injury or another, what is it, thrombosis, I think it was, in his
yeah.
shoulder?
Listen, if the question with Wemby is not about, oh, can he do this? Can he do that? Is can he still stay healthy? And we all know what he's capable of, but we just got to hope his body can, handle the intense 82 game season that the NBA, proposes. So
I agree. But 82 game season, I've heard an argument recently from LeBron that the NBA should consider, instead of 12-minute quarters, 48 minutes, shortening it to 10-minute quarters. Because he said that puts a lot more pressure on the game. And there have been a lot of claims that NBA regular season games are not exciting anymore. There's no point in watching them. But I'm starting to think about agreeing with him on this, even though it would take the possibility of a lot of records away. But shortening it to 10-minute quarters would really just be, it would make the NBA a lot more exciting. I think that's a move Adam Silver should do. What do you think? Do you think the NBA quarters, like the way they are now, are fine the way they are, or they need to be changed?
there's a lot of upside to that, and I see what they're saying. However, I don't think for the history of the game and for everyone that's gone before you, I don't think you can take away 12-minute quarters because of the records. And, no one's ever going to even have a chance at Kobe's 81 or
I would agree on that.
have a chance to really even break 70. And the 3-point records or the triple doubles, the amount of triple doubles is severely going to go down. Or I just think from a statistical analysis, and heck, no one's even going to really have a shot at LeBron's record anymore, his point record, because you're taking away a quarter every game. That's 8 minutes. Or wait, yeah, it'd be 8 minutes. So, if it were to be 10-minute quarters, 2 minutes less. I don't know. I just think that from a statistical standpoint, and from if you're going to respect the history of the game, you just can't do it. But there's a lot of upside, so you never know.
I think a lot of this has to do because they're talk about shortening it because there's so many players in the NBA getting injured, which makes me. Would you argue that this is the most athletic age of the NBA we've seen? Like with the way players are playing, how they play, what they can do. Because I think the first real super NBA athlete we saw was Michael Jordan. But now we see a lot of players do his moves. We don't see the vertical and all that in the scoring prowess, but we see a lot of athleticism that could be comparable to his.
Yeah. If Michael Jordan and a guy like, say, Vince Carter with elite athleticism, if they can go seasons without getting hurt and play, 40 minutes a night, I don't see why the players of today can't do it either. So I say keep it. I don't know. I just think that we just have to, from a medical standpoint, be a lot better. I don't know what that implies, but the
Okay.
doctors, yeah. So I don't know.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next segment. We got our final segment, and we have not done this in a hot minute either, but I thought to because of what's happening today. Retro Rewind. So Charles brought this game up earlier, and so did I. Today we're going to be discussing I'll just give the background. The Warriors, with a record-breaking 73-9 regular season, led 3-1 after dominant wins in games 1 and 2, and a close game 4. The Cavaliers, led by LeBron and Kyrie Irving, staged a comeback with blowout victories in Game 5 and 6, setting up the stage for a decisive Game 7. Now, what have we got here? We've got LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love versus the best regular season team in NBA history, the best three-point regular season shooting team in NBA history, possibly. Well, next to the next year's Warriors after that. At the time, the team with the best home crowd advantage on the planet because they had never lost back-to-back home games in the regular season or postseason in 2 years up to that point. And then on top of that, they had the unanimous MVP, the first and only ever in NBA history up to our date, and the Defensive Player of the Year running up. And what's at stake? The Warriors aim to cement their historic season with a second consecutive title, maybe being the best team of single season team of all time. While the Cavs sought to end a 52-year major sports championship drought for Cleveland as a city, not just the NBA. And here's some key factors going into this. Draymond Green's suspension for Game 5 kind of shifted the momentum. And Steph Curry's struggles in Games 5 and 6 put pressure on Golden State, because now Cleveland's defensive adjustments and LeBron's all-around dominance kind of fueled their resurgence. And what happened this game? Well, this was a complete defensive slugfest. It featured 20 lead changes and 11 ties, and that really underscored its competitiveness. Because like you look back at all the highlight reels, you don't really see a lot. Like you see like some cool flashy plays like LeBron steals or blocks or dunks. You didn't see a lot of the stuff that happened in between. And we did on the highlight reel for the finals, on the highlight reel that they may have had on YouTube, you didn't see all the stuff that happened except for the block, the shot, and under the last 4 minutes. You didn't see the defensive possessions where it was barely made the Mesa shot, the shots that really counted. And in the first quarter, the Warriors started ridiculously strong with Draymond Green, a player up to this point who had been really ridiculed for his inability to produce on the offense and from a scoring standpoint, went 5 for 5, including 3 for 3 from threes. But Cleveland kind of stayed close, trailing only 23-22. And the second quarter, Cleveland's bench, including Richard Jefferson, and what a name, sparked a run, giving the Cavaliers a 42-35 lead. Well, actually, no, the Warriors a 42-35 lead. And Green continued to carry Golden State's offense and hitting more 3 after 3. And at the half, it ended up being the Warriors leading 49-42. And they were led by Draymond Green's 22 points in the first half. And here's some key stats here for this game. Green shot 8 for 10 and 6 for 8 from 3. And LeBron had 12.7 rebounds, 5 assists at half. In the second half, let's just skip straight to the fourth quarter because that's everybody's favorite part, right? We had the game remain tight with both teams featuring defensive stops. We had a few trading blows with Steph Curry hitting a ridiculous 3 over Tristan Thompson. We had Klay Thompson hitting what people thought to be a dagger 3, but it only turned into be a 2. And the scores tied 89-89 with a few minutes left to go. And at 1 minute and 51 seconds, Iguodala got the ball off the rebound, ran it down court, passed it to Curry for the layup, but then Curry tried to trick him out. And from Iguodala's perspective, he laid it up, but what did he hear? Boom, straight from the sky. And he turned around and he saw the team running back the other way. What happened? LeBron James and his infamous blocked by James run, where he had a superhuman defensive recovery that really just showcased how incredible he was as a player and an athlete. And maybe one of the most iconic defensive player in NBA history, one could argue. And then with 53 seconds left, Kyrie Irving made a switch from Klay Thompson to Steph, one that Klay Thompson has publicly said that he's frustrated that he let Steph get that one. And he hit an insane step back over Stephen Curry for 3 to take a 92-89 lead. And with the final sequence of 10 seconds left and it being 93-89, Golden State's 3-point attempt failed, and the Cleveland Cavaliers had won. They'd accomplished what was literally the impossible in the NBA up to that point. And LeBron James in this game had 27 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals, and he earned a unanimous Finals MVP over the unanimous MVP of the regular season. So, what do you think of this game, Charles? Like, how are we gonna rate it here? Like, let's not use the official rating system. Let's just talk about it as a whole. Because you know what I say? I agree with you. I think it is the best NBA Finals game ever.
Most finals don't even get to a game 7. It's been 9 years since the last one, and it was that finals. And to let alone have that amount of pressure building up in the fourth quarter, and then to not only be down 3-1, but for LeBron to feel that pressure when he's about to be down from this layup that, and you mentioned superhuman, and bam, off the glass. 2 centimeters away from the glass, and he gets it. And then Kyrie to go and hit that shot, one of the most difficult shots with that amount of pressure.
I think an underrated player in that game was J.R. Smith. That's just me personally. I think the adjustment he forced Iguodala to make on the block was kind of the reason they won that.
Yeah. Listen, that adjustment that he was able to, make on the ball in order to let LeBron go and get that, I mean, that's what LeBron had been coaching all year. If you can make an adjustment on that ball, make him, switch the ball in midair to, get to the other side of the backboard, that's all he needs. All the time LeBron needs. So that's all I need.
And then we had the player that's most comparable to, you could compare him to TJ McConnell in today's game, with Matthew Dellavedova running everywhere around trying to chase Steph Curry. And he locked him down for most of that series.
One of the best role players, just like from a fan standpoint. Just he's an icon.
For sure, bro. I'm going to go ahead and give this rating. We don't even need to do the rating system to know this. We're giving it a 10.
Well,
This is
yeah, there's no doubt it's a 10.
100%. This is the highest rate of the game and from the cheap seats watch history. Oh, yeah. Stat I forgot to mention. I mentioned it in my last video when I talked about after you left, I did a Charlie's Chalkboard segment. So LeBron in this series, he led, and this is the first time any NBA player has done this in a single playoff series. He led the series in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals, the 5 major stat categories. That's historic against that Warriors team.
Yeah. That's just how good he is.
And for us, for the people, the LeBron James peoples, or whatever we call them, the LeBroninator. What do we get? What is his fan base name? I cannot freaking figure this out, man.
I don't know, but I'm a part of it.
Yeah, no, for sure, bro. I'd say this is what solidifies him. And if I could go back and erase my Charlie's Chalkboard ranking from last video, I would. But I think this is the best finals performance ever. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, the cultural impact, that game, watched by 31 million viewers in the United States, remains one of the most iconic in NBA history. With the block and the shot etched in lore, I could argue it's the most iconic game. Again, that's probably just you and me right now. All right.
No, I think there's a lot more people out there who'd agree, but
yeah, no, for sure. All right. Well, that's it from the cheap seats. My name is Charlie Jimenez.
I'm Charles Campbell.
We're signing off.